So I went to go see The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. You know, little film. Directed by Peter Jackson, stars Martin Freeman, Sir Ian McKellen, Benedict Cumberbatch is in there. Yeah, that thing. Ooh, hey, Benedict Cumberbatch isn't in there just once. He's two of the bad guys. Fantastic, right? Right up front, I'm going to say this is an entertaining movie, much more so than the previous one for me. The first Hobbit film left me a little flat, but this one was a fun watch throughout. It's a little bit overlong, but still fun. Now, just because it's fun and entertaining doesn't mean that it doesn't have its share of problems, because it kind of does. So, firstly, I love that they go out of the way to build these incredibly immersive sets for the actors. It adds a level of credence to their performance that might otherwise not be there if they were just standing in front of a green screen miming at things. Now, I know they do use green screen and CGI and things like that in this, and for the most part, it's good quality CGI. But the issue is, every once in a while, it's very glaringly not very good CGI. It's very obvious that you're looking at computer-animated puppets, or, for instance, Bilbo Baggins sort of jumping in front of something, and it's very, very, very clearly a guy standing in front of a green screen background jumping, and they don't do a very good job every once in a while of blending the real and the fake. And it really hurts the experience when those instances pop up on screen. Now, it doesn't happen all that often, but it does happen, and it's really unfortunate, I think. And of course, since they brought to life this fantastic world for our characters to travel through, it only makes sense that they'd want to show it off, right? And for the most part, it works. They have these amazing vistas. They show the heroes traveling throughout the world, and cool lake cities, and neat forests, and far-off mountains, and it's visually very impressive. Unfortunately, earlier in the film, the heroes, Bilbo and everyone, they have to go through Mirkwood Forest, and Mirkwood Forest was designed to be very disorienting, and it is. And not only are they doing the Mirkwood Forest, Bilbo is trying to deal with the whole effects of the ring on him, and so we're treated to all these very, very awkward camera angles, strange movements of the camera, and for most people, I imagine, this isn't going to be all that bad. It's just going to sort of help emphasize the disorientation characters are going through. But if you're anything like me, and you get a little bit of motion sick, it causes some issues. I had some serious spikes in motion sickness at those bits, and thankfully it wasn't throughout the entire film, but in general they're a bit overfond of camera movement. It's not horrible, but it's just something I noticed and kind of stood out more than it should have to me. And then, of course, there's Peter Jackson. Now, that's not to say he's not responsible for anything good. I mean, he is. These movies are a lot of fun. He's responsible for a good chunk of that. It's just that he brings a couple issues to the table as well. For one, The Hobbit is a fun, action-packed, short book that he's turning into somewhere in between 7 and 9 hours of film. Now, he's doing this by not only filming The Hobbit, but he's also bringing in a bunch of material from outside sources, so Hobbit and a book called The Silmarillion and Lost Tales and all over the place. And so at times these things mesh well, but other times it feels like you're watching two separate films because they are separate stories. They may be kind of parallel to each other in the whole world of The Hobbit, but they're really just a sidetrack from the film that at least I'm wanting to see. So the scenes with Gandalf going off on his side quests really are side quests. They're just side stories to the main plot that's happening, and so they come across as sort of boring or time wasting every once in a while, and I find it awkward to complain because I know it's important to the sort of plot of the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, the whole Middle-earth sort of story, but it's really a sidetrack from the story of The Hobbit, and that's not really all that cool for me. And then, of course, there's his love affair with the elves. Ooh, the elves. Now, they weren't in The Hobbit, but they're here in Desolation of Smaug. And, it's a little over the top. Just a smidge. Almost every action scene in the film either has the elves coming in to save the day, or it's pretty much just the elves being badass. Which wouldn't necessarily be a problem in and of itself. Elves are fun, I like them in my fantasy, you know. But when they so far outclass everything else in the movie aside from the dragon, there's a problem, because there's no urgency in the fight scenes because they are so much better than everything else. You know, they're sliding across tree branches and jumping and killing 5 things along the way, and then hitting the ground and killing 10 other things without really even being scratched on their own. You know, there's one fight scene where an elf sort of bleeds a little, but that's it. Every action scene in this movie where the elves pop up, which is, again, almost every single one of them, it's just kind of absurd. It's over the top, is all I'm saying. And it didn't need to happen. You can have cool elves without having them be like one-man armies in the first place. I mean, really? Really? And then, of course, my last little niggle. It's a really minor thing. It's not really... It's kind of silly, I'll put it out there. But it's Benedict Cumberbatch and his voice work. And it's not so much that he does a bad job with his voice work. There's nothing wrong with it at all. He does a fine job. Fine job. It's just, why him? His voice is put through so much audio processing that if I didn't know that he was, he played the characters, I would have no clue. It could have been anyone. And there's plenty of fantastic voice actors out there. You could have picked almost any of them and put their voice through that much audio distortion and had a similar effect. So, I mean, I guess they're just doing it to have the actor there and have another name on the posters, but that's just it. It's just kind of, why did you need him other than for his name? And when you already have a film with the names, associated with it, did you really need one more? I guess. Whatever. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the movie. I imagine most people will. The story of the Hobbit's a lot of fun, and when this film stays focused on that, it is too. The acting's all really solid. Martin Freeman's the perfect Bilbo. He's a lot of fun to watch here. Sir Ian McKellen continues to be a great Gandalf. I can't imagine one better. And it's just altogether a lot of fun when everything clicks. It's not perfect. It has its issues. So, until next time, folks, enjoy film.